Joseph Alvaro, welcome to my living room.
Thank you for having me, Lisa. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
I am so excited to learn all about the Lucky Ones TV.
Well, we started the Lucky Ones TV as a place where people can celebrate those people that they were lucky to have known in life and who've passed away. And it's a place for people to express why that person was so special to them. And we have lots of categories. We have a feature section, we have a man on the street section, and we have the ability for people to upload their own videos or their own written stories with pictures and tell us about someone that that influenced their life and made them who they are today in some respects.
What inspired you to create this platform?
Well, my partner and I, Matt Zoller Seitz, and I were both, we both lost our wives. And she was a friend of, he was a friend of my wife's. That's how we first met. And then I met his wife and his daughter, and our children all met. And we became friends. And a few years into, I'd say it must have been early 2000s, Matt's first wife passed away very unexpectedly. And then about 3.5 years later, my wife passed away. So here we were, two single dads, and we were, raising children on our own, and we would talk once in a while, but we always tried to get together. He lived in Brooklyn. He's a film and television critic for Vulture magazine and for RogerEbert.com. He also writes he's an editor at New York Magazine. So he's got a full plate of writing that he does. And he was living in Brooklyn, so it was very hard with me living in Ridgewood, New Jersey, for the two of us to get together. But after a couple of years, we managed to do so. And we came up with this idea when we were talking about, dealing with grief or dealing with the loss of someone, actually. Because he had asked me about, how I dealt with it. And I said, I was lucky to have had 27 years with a wonderful woman. I cherish every moment, and I was graced by God. So I don't ever look back and say, oh, wow, why is me? And feel bad for myself. I feel lucky that I had someone. A lot of people don't get that in life. And he told me about a story about a friend of his at a bereavement group, an older gentleman. And Matt had said to the fellow, don't you wish you hadn't been married so you didn't have to deal with this? And the fellow looked at him and said, no, Matt, we're one of the lucky ones. A lot of people never have this. Cherish it. So when I said that, it triggered him. He was like, oh my, you're like the second person that said that to me. He said, I've always wanted to do something to honor people, like a memorial wall or something like that. And so we started kicking around ideas, and we came up with this idea of doing these video interviews where we have people tell their stories about someone special in life and what made them so special and why they want to celebrate them, what it is about that person. And we started doing this, and we found that people from all walks of life have wonderful stories to tell. So we do these feature length pieces, which are like 6 minutes long. We call them features. And then we do little man around the street kind of videos. We call them TLO street stories. And we just interview people at parks and large gatherings, which is going to be hard to do now, but that's what we did. We went to malls and different places where people congregated, art festivals and what have you, and interviewed people about who it was that they were lucky to have had in their life and why they were so lucky to have known them. And those are great little 1-minute stories that we put up on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And then they live at luckyonestv.com with the rest of the content. So we have this wonderful streaming platform where people can upload their own videos, and they can watch other videos, and they can have their friends watch videos if they've done one with us. It's just a nice place it's a everyman's biography library, basically. It's like people do biographies on Robin Williams and Jacqueline Kennedy. Well, these are little biographies on everyday people, because we all count, and it kind of pulls our common humanity together. We're all the same when fundamentally, and everyone talks pretty much about the same thing, the love and kindness that someone else gave them.
Yeah, I love that. And it really is a community for people to gather that really need that moral support.
Well, moral in the sense that they want to be able to express their opinions about someone and not feel like they're doing something wrong or making someone uncomfortable. oftentimes people don't want to talk about someone that's passed away because they feel uncomfortable about it. But, we think that you really should talk about those people, and you should be comfortable about them. Tell stories about them. Share what you learned with, about them. Share what they taught you with other people.
So you also wrote a book on this topic.
I wrote a book entitled "I'm One of the Lucky Ones," because I am one of the lucky ones. And all of our videos end with the person saying, "My name is Joseph, and I'm one of the lucky ones," or "My name is Margaret, and I'm one of the lucky ones." And in that sense, I wrote this book to tell my story so that people could see that there was a story about my wife Frances, and that I was celebrating her also. I didn't want it to be like, oh, we're not doing this. I mean, Matt just did one. Our co-creator just did one a couple days ago. We did a remote interview. His second wife passed away about a week and a half ago. So yeah, it was very sad. So he wanted to do an interview. He said, I want to do this. I want to talk about Nancy and celebrate her life and what she meant to me, and how she changed my life. So we did that this week, and we'll put it together. So it's really, and afterwards, Paul and I, my other partner, when we were filming it, we were thinking, we were talking to one another saying, I hope this doesn't upset him too much and what have you. I mean, it's hard. He just lost his wife, and I'm asking him questions. And at the end, he sent me an email and said, that was very cathartic. He said, I really appreciate that, because it allowed him to be able to focus not from grief, but to celebration, to focus on why he was attracted to Nancy, what made Nancy so special, as opposed to dealing with all the grief and all the relatives and all the other things, the flip side of that. So in that sense, he, like he said, it was very cathartic from him. And I think that's for anyone that does this. Now, obviously, we don't ask people so soon after they've lost someone, because you need time. But when time is past, people want to talk about someone like that. They really do, and no one ever asks them. And people, like I said, are often uncomfortable when people talk about someone who's died.
So right now we're facing a lot of death, unfortunately, with the COVID-19 pandemic. What advice would you give to people watching that have lost loved ones during this very isolating time?
I would tell them to don't dwell on the negative, but dwell on the positive. If you've lost someone, yes, they're missing from your life right now, and they'll never return to your life. You've got to put together a new normal for yourself, but celebrate that person. Don't let your feelings of loss overwhelm the feelings of love that you have for them. And I think people need to tell stories, share with what made that person so special. Why was it important why is it important that they were in your life? What made them important to you? I guess that's the only takeaway I can give anyone that makes any sense to me.
Yeah. Well, you have such a beautiful outlook. I know that you not only lost your wife, but your daughter in the same year.
Yes. Well, I did. I lost my daughter about 9 months later.
Ugh,
And we had lost some other folks in there. But, the bigger question is, we don't dwell on grief, and we don't position the lucky ones as dealing with grief. You watch the videos, no one cries. Everyone's smiling, they're laughing, they're telling. It's a joyous thing. It's not if it was a Debbie Downer, no one would want to watch, I mean,
yeah.
like if you watched a documentary on someone and all they talked about was the doom and gloom of their death, you'd like, why am I watching this? That's
Right.
not who that person is. Their death doesn't define them. What defines them is how they treated everyone that they met, what good they did for the world and society and their fellows. So that's how we look at this. Otherwise, it would not be worth doing. It's really a celebration of life and our common humanity. It's
Well,
life affirming.
yeah, it's such a beautiful mission, and I'm so happy we met. Where can
Thank
people
you.
find out more about you and to submit their own story?
They can go to luckyonestv.com, and they can watch stories, they can submit stories, and they can follow us on any of the social media channels at Lucky Ones TV. It's really simple. Lucky Ones TV, luckyonestv.com.
Love it. Love the brand.
You can contact us. We'll even do, we'll even do videos. We can do them remotely now. So if someone has a story, they can contact us and we could set something up.
I love that. Thank you so much, Joseph. This was
Oh,
so
thank you, Lisa.